Welcome back. Today we're going to talk a bit about our emotional lives and emotional needs as we age. Let's face it, we are emotional beings and we have our feelings. And it's really important as we continue to age and have more life experiences that we pay attention to our feelings and our emotions. One of the first things I really want to address is this whole concept of ageism, because if we allow ourselves to be ageist, if we allow ourselves to see aging as a bad thing, and that the older we are, the more frail and demented and so on we're bound to be, that's not going to be very healthy, and we're not going to be very happy. Ageism is drummed into us from the time we're small, and especially in the United States, and I don't know where you live, who's watching this, but unless you are an Indigenous person who comes from a society that honors their elders and values them and treasures them, you probably have some internalized ageism. And that's where you have believed some of these things like, oh, past a certain age, my brain's going to fail. Oh, past a certain age, I really shouldn't have a new relationship if my spouse is gone. Past a certain age, I can't be creative anymore. I can't have my hobbies. Well, I always say to any of that, I say, well, who says? Who said? And what you'll find out, if you just question those thoughts when they come into your mind, I think you're going to find that they aren't your thoughts, and they aren't how you feel. Many people continue to be vibrant, active, healthy, and creative all the way up into their 90s and even into their hundreds. There's no reason. Now, even if you have some physical disabilities that come into play, which can easily happen, it doesn't mean that you can't adjust, that you can't find ways to deal with your situation. And let's face it, you've dealt with situations your entire life, and you know what it's like to need to change. You know what it's like to kind of make a deal with yourself, so something will work. So my first point in our emotional lives is don't buy into ageism. If you have to, get online, read articles, read books. I will enclose in the PDF that goes with this video some books that I think are really positive, not a lot, but a couple of that I have read or I am reading that really, I think, help us look at aging in a different way. One of the important things emotionally is to look at the different relationships in our lives. And many people, as they age, begin to become less and less involved with other people. And unless that's really your choice and that really makes you happy, it's not always a good thing. It is good to have people of all ages in your life. And one of the best ways to do that is to volunteer somewhere. One of the beauties of being older is that you do have more time on your hands, and you can use that time not only for yourself in terms of some of your creative pursuits that you haven't done that you really want to do, but also to volunteer. And you can choose, do you want to volunteer at a senior center, at a youth organization, at a hospital? I mean, there's so many places, at a food bank, so many places that need volunteers. And volunteering, you can give back to the community, you can make friends, you can feel valued because you are. And many of those organizations, they couldn't do what they do if they didn't have volunteers. So volunteering is a wonderful idea. The other thing you might look at is your autobiography, to record your autobiography, whether you write it or read it into a recording device of some kind. But spend some time going through your life and talk about the highlights. What things did you do? What things did you not do? And you don't have to do this for publication, and you don't have to do it, where things that you might not want people to know are shared. You can do this and put it away and put it somewhere where once you're gone, then your relatives and so on can have access to it. But it's a wonderful thing to do for your own emotional gratification. Excuse me. Your own emotional gratification, and kind of a way to kind of go through your life and glean from it the really good things that you've done and that have happened. And we've talked about that a bit already. Look at what regrets you may have. This is really important. Everybody will say, well, don't have regrets. Well, that's easy to say, more difficult to do. I am a proponent of there's no need to have regrets. You did or didn't do what you did or didn't do, just like the people who came before you and the people who will come after you. However, having said that, it's also not uncommon to kind of look at your life, especially if you're doing your autobiography, and say, darn, I wish I'd done that differently. I just regret I didn't do this. I regret I didn't do that. So write about it, talk about it, deal with it, and then say, okay, can I change it? No. Is there anything I can do about it now? Yay or nay? If there is, do it. If there isn't, then let it go. Do a ritual if you have to. Write the situation on a piece of paper, tear it up, burn it safely, flush it, whatever you want to do, put it in recycling. Whatever you need to do to symbolize letting go of it, because regrets will eat at you and they are not healthy. You know that. And the sooner that you can face them, and maybe you need the help of a counselor. There's some good counseling out there that's available, especially for seniors. And I think I talked about the peer counseling program already through your local county will probably have one, where you can have another older person work with you who's been through this in their lives. And lots of times having somebody else kind of share how they've handled things can help us. And then your children and grandchildren. Some people are very lucky and they have wonderful relationships with their children and grandchildren. Other people don't. Maybe there's some things in the way that you raised your kids that they resent you. You resent them. They didn't become what you wanted them to be. It can just be overwhelming. There's a book called We Did the Best We Could. And again, I'll put that in the resources. But, it's talking about coming to terms with the fact that not only did you do the best you could do, but so did your parents. As parents, we tend to parent the way we were parented, unless we're really lucky and have done some kind of clearing or healing work around that. But you did do the best you could, and your children are doing the best they can do. If you need to do some family therapy or family counseling and they're open to it, gee, wouldn't that be great? If they're not, then you just on your own have to come to terms with, the way you raised your kids, the way you were raised, with all of that. And just go, well, I did the best I could. Wish I could have done better, but oh well. And I know some people who they start a therapy fund for their kids as soon as the kid is born. And then I know this one woman that every time she has an issue with her kid and her kid gets mad at her and, mommy, you're a terrible mommy. She said, I put another $10, $25 in her therapy fund. So she said, when she's 18, I'm going to give her therapy fund and say, here, I saved this for you. So all those things that happened, go to therapy, deal with them. Here's the money to do that. I did the best that I could do. It's a funny story. And as we grow older, we maybe won't have enough time to do that. That's an idea to pass along to your kids, though, if they have kids. And your grandchildren, enjoy your grandchildren. But I think it's really important, too. A lot of times I see grandparents who value their grandkids more than they value their own children. And I've been told that the reason is because with your grandkids, you can just play with them, have a good time, send them home. You don't have to deal with them as a parent, whereas as a parent, you're responsible for raising them and doing all those things. So enjoy your grandkids. Do your best not to show favorites. That's the other thing. I have seen grandparents who show favorites while I'm parents. And I know that's hard because I don't care what anybody says, you're human and you like some of your kids better than you like others, and you like some of your grandkids better than you like others. Do your best not to show that, because that really is difficult for them to think that their parent or their grandparent prefers another sibling over them. You can tell I went through that. It takes a while to let go of it. The other thing is to ask yourself, and we've done a bit of this already, is asking yourself, what went right? Acknowledging yourself in your life. That goes a long ways towards emotional fulfillment, emotional stability. And especially if you find yourself thinking about all the things that you've done wrong in your life, woe is me. Start thinking about, okay, well, what in my life have I done right? And write those things down. Remind yourself of those things. And that's going to help you be more positive and feel better about yourself and about what you're doing with your life. And I want to mention this. If you have LGBTQ family members, and that's people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, or they're questioning. Be as open to them as you can. It is extremely hard in today's culture for gay people and people who are different, have a different identity that's not just heterosexual or just male and female. Maybe the person considers themselves both, they're non-binary. The best thing you can do is to be as accepting as you can. And, ask them questions, try to learn more about them. And this is whether they're your kids, your grandkids, your neighbors, whomever. But try to have an open attitude. And why that's important is the more open that you can be with other people, the more open you're going to be with yourself. The more accepting you can be of people who are different from you, the more accepting you can be of yourself. And I bring this particular issue up, but it can be anything where there are people who are other, whether it's racially or culturally different from you. Many people, especially as they grow older, start putting up blocks and walls to other people of other cultures and other races, and that doesn't serve anybody. Be curious. Instead of deciding that somebody's not as good as you are, they're every bit as good as you are, and you know that in your heart of hearts. Get to know them, ask questions, be open. Do you kind of get the theme that's going through here that I'm really talking about for your emotional happiness, your emotional growth as we age? Is be as open and as accepting as you can be of yourself as well as of other people. And don't put your morals on other people. Just because you feel it's immoral to do thus and so, it doesn't mean that it's immoral for them. People have different religions, different belief systems. I'm not talking about murder. I'm not talking about that kind of thing. But I am talking about life choices and how people choose to live and how they choose to have relationships and all those kinds of things. Be as accepting of other people as you can. Don't you want people to accept you as you are? I mean, do you want people judging you all the time for your decisions? No, of course you don't. So be as open and as accepting of others as you want them to be of you. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? So that's what I have to say about the emotional life. There's much, much more I could say, but this kind of covers the highlights, which is what I'm really trying to do. Talk to you in the next video.